Hello, everyone. In this recording, I will be discussing pediatric and geriatric patients. So for the objectives of this discussion, we will be describing what are the proper blood collection if our patient is pediatrics or if our patient is geriatric. What is the preferred venipuncture site? Physiological variables in blood collection, what are the different effects of hemolysis, hemoconcentration, and how to maintain the specimen quality. So let's start first class with our pediatric patients. When we say pediatric patients, bata ang ato ang pasyente. Okay, so it can be newborn babies, neonates, 5 years old. So those are our pediatric patients. Normally, if our patient is pediatric, uh, we perform capillary puncture. So just we are going to prick on the selected site on the fingertip of our patient. But there are cases, class, wherein we need to perform venipuncture. We need to extract blood to our patient, either syringe method or the evacuated tube system or our butterfly needle insertion, depending on the need of the patient. What are those instances? Number one, if the request of the patient requires large amount of blood. Example of this test is our cross-matching. So in the process of cross-matching, class, this one requires large amount of blood. Numerous steps ato ang cross-matching. So just to give you a background on how cross-matching works, so we are performing this one on our patient that requires blood transfusion. Okay, so the blood of the patient will be matched with a blood bag. It will undergo cross-matching for us to identify if it's compatible or not. So if the result is compatible, it is now safe to be transfused on our patient. The next one is our bilirubin. So bilirubin, usually we use the machine to run this test, but the machine requires large amount of blood since ang gina-measure sa machine test is our direct and indirect bilirubin. The third one is our blood culture. So for our blood culture, you already know the blood requirement of our blood culture bottle. For pediatric patients, 10 ml, 8 ml, ang pinakagamay is 5 ml. So, going back to our capillary puncture, in a single capillary puncture class, the maximum amount of blood that we can collect is 0.5 ml. So just imagine if you're going to perform blood culture collection, so how many times are you going to puncture the patient for you to achieve the required amount of blood? Okay, other than that, there are tests that cannot normally be performed by skin puncture. Example is ammonia and coagulation test. So we need to perform venipuncture on our patient. But before we perform this procedures, class, we must check first the protocol of the hospital, because some hospitals, they have a protocol wherein pag ang patient less than 2 months old, doctors ang mag-extract of blood. Naapoy hospitals that does not require any age, basta na blood extraction, automatic Cementec. So always good ta mag-check sa protocol sa hospital. So most accessible veins for our pediatric patients, we have our antecubital fossa and the forearm. Other sites that we can extract, we have the medial backside of the wrist, the dorsum of the foot, the scalp, and the medial ankle. Challenges in performing blood extraction for our pediatric patients. Of course, our newborn, our infants, less than 12 months old, their veins are very small. It is not well developed. It is their hands. We cannot control their hands properly. We cannot instruct our babies to let them sit still. So those are the challenges. Maglisod nga ni tagpangita og ugat sa classmates, no, how much more if our patients are pediatric patients. Okay, so we have another challenge. Removing more than 10% of an infant's blood volume at one time can lead to shock, cardiac arrest, and anemia. So forgive me for my background. Okay, let's continue. So, this is the responsibility of the doctors because medtechs were just following the doctor's order on what are the tests to collect on the patient. So it should be 10% only, not more than 10% of the total infant's blood volume ang ato ang makuha at one time. Okay, because this might happen to our patient. So we have this type of anemia class, iatrogenic anemia in infants and children. So this is not due to the condition of the patient. This is not a disease of the patient, but because of the malpractice of the hospital. It's the hospital's fault. Why? Si patient nakadevelop yung ani na type of anemia. So the reason for this is due to frequent blood draw. Sobrahan ang dugo na nakuha sa patient. It is more than 10%. That is why it lead into this type of anemia. So the um, laboratory results or indications of the patient with this type of anemia is that hemoglobin and hematocrit levels are low. Okay, so what is the difference between our hemoglobin and hematocrit? So hemoglobin class, that is a part of your red blood cell, and it helps your red blood cells carry oxygen throughout your body. And also hemoglobin is the one responsible in giving our red blood cells its color. Okay, while our hematocrit naman class, this one is reported in percentage. Okay, hematocrit, it is the percentage of your red blood cell in your bloodstream. So that is the difference between these two. Okay, method of restraint. If our patient is baby pagyod, so normally class, this is just based on my experience. If we have blood extraction in babies, we perform it inside the nurse station. Uh, as much as possible, i-avoid na mo na on the bedside of the mother. Okay, mothers are very sensitive, and of course we cannot ask assistance from the mother. Maluoy man yun sa baby, no? The best person to ask during blood collection for babies is the nurse. Okay, so they can assist us properly. So how are we going to restrain our baby? So it is, we term this one as mommy restraint. Okay, so but I cannot look for a picture class where the other hand is sticking out, but because no, if you're going to look at the picture, dili man gyud makakuha og dugo on the arm of the baby. So the same ang pag-wrap, but the other arm must be exposed. And on the upper right picture, okay, so that is a very cooperative pediatric patients, no? So unta tanan pediatric patients ingon ana ka cooperative. And at the bottom, so if the patient is not that cooperative, so we can ask the help from the parent, from the guardian. So let them sit on the lap, and then ang hand sa guardian must be on the abdominal area of the patient. So we can ask the guardian to get a toy for the baby to be distracted, or some hospitals class they have this tourniquet that are pediatric patient friendly. So they have this just like in the picture, ladybug ang iyahang kuano character in order to distract the patient. Okay, so if you're going to perform venipuncture, the best method or the most ideal method is our butterfly um, incision needle. It's because even though si patient maglihok-lihok siya after insertion of the needle, we can still ensure or secured gihapon ang pag-anchor sa needle on the vein. And no, it's because dili man magmatter if mag-move si baby, still ang rubber tubing, the blood will flow from the rubber tubing to our evacuated tube. So that is really the most ideal method of venipuncture. Okay, so we can attach the evacuated tube holder at the other end, or we can use syringe at the other end. So that is for our pediatric patients. Now let's proceed with our geriatric patients. Our geriatric patients, they are age 65 or older. So the following are the tests that are commonly ordered on our geriatric patients. First, we have our ANA. So this is anti-nuclear antibody. So the purpose of this test class is to diagnose lupus. Um, Lupus, the full name SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. So that is the diagnostic test. RA, that is for rheumatoid arthritis. We have CBC, we have creatinine for the kidneys, electrolytes. ESR, estimated sedimentation rate to identify if there is internal inflammation. We have the glucose, we have protein and partial thromboplastin time as our coagulation tests. So, most of the time, ang ato ang geriatric patients, sila yun ang nagagreklamo. So, we need to maintain our professional attitudes no, in dealing with geriatric patients. So, the following are the challenges, skin changes. So, their skin is very saggy. That is why it's very important to anchor the vein before needle insertion. It's because class, mas slide man gud ang needle kay mo sunod siya sa flow sa pagkasagi sa skin. So, it's very important to anchor yun ang vein before needle insertion. They have the increased chance of bruising, so mas faster ang visibility sa hematoma for our geriatric patients. Na pag example, pag insert sa needle na through and through, makita na to right away na naay hematoma under the skin. So in cases like that, we need to stop blood extraction and apply deep pressure on the puncture site. Hearing impairment. Okay, so in cases like this, we can ask the assistance from the guardian in order for us to communicate effectively on our patient. Visual impairment and mental impairment. So the Alzheimer's disease and dementia are the most common mental conditions on our geriatric patients. Okay, so that's the end of pediatric and geriatric patients. Now let us proceed with the next topic, which is the capillary puncture. Okay, so allow me to change my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, for a while. Okay, so now let's continue with our capillary puncture. So I guess most of you already started performing capillary puncture in your laboratory. So this one will just set as your guide for some additional information about capillary puncture. So other term for capillary puncture, we have dermal puncture or we have skin puncture. So it is termed as dermal puncture. It's because our capillary beds, it is located on the dermal layer of our skin. So for as to the normal value or the reference value, it is not the same with our venous blood or our blood that was taken through venipuncture. That is why it's very important to take note all the time. If you have extracted or taken the blood through capillary puncture, we must indicate it on the remarks or on the notes na part. Okay, so capillary puncture, it is ideal for children when only a small volume of blood is needed. So usually, based on my laboratory experience, ang pinaka-common na ginakuha through capillary puncture is if the request of the patient is CBC or complete blood count. If maulang na siya ang request ni patient, so we can perform capillary puncture. Okay, so and there are instances wherein we need to perform capillary puncture on adults. So, but ideally, class, pag adult ang patient, venipuncture get ka. But there are cases now where we need to perform capillary puncture. So the following are the examples. If the patient is severely burned, so the blood of the patient will contain tissue fluids that is why it's not ideal for venipuncture. Next is for our cancer patients. So usually, cancer patients for chemotherapy. So their veins are reserved for therapeutic purposes. Next, for our obese patients, usually their veins are too deep. That is why we have a difficulty in performing venipuncture. So if CBC lang yung request, so we can proceed with capillary puncture. Next is point of care testing and kining patients performing tests on themselves. So usually they are connected manggod. Since our POCT na mga machines, it requires only small amount of blood or drop lang siya sa blood. And then usually these patients they are just testing on themselves. So sila lang ang mag-prick and then they will just drop the blood on the device. And then special procedures that require capillary blood. Example of this is malarial smear. Okay, if ang request ni patient is malaria, so dapat capillary blood yun ang kuhaon. And then, should not be used in patients who are extremely dehydrated. So, bisag kapulo pa mo puncture, still very, very small amount of blood ato ang makolek. And if the fingertip of the patient is cold, so it cannot produce adequate blood flow, therefore capillary puncture is not effective. So in cases like this, class, we can use our tissue warmer or as our warming device. The recommended temperature is less than 42 degrees Celsius and it must be applied only within 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so the following are the equipment needed for capillary puncture. First is we have our lancet. So we have an automatic one and we also have our manual. So in your laboratory, so we will practice to use the manual one for you to know how to control in puncturing the puncture site. So we have a retractable one, kana mga automatic type. So we have lancets class that are specific only for finger puncture and lancets that are specific only for heel puncture. So we need to be careful in choosing our lancets, no? Depending on the age of our pediatric patients. Next, we have our microcollect containers. So they are just the small version of our evacuated tube. So the same additives present, pag the same ang color sa atong evacuated tube. So if you can check your microcollection tubes, na siya duha ka lines. At the bottom, we have 0.25 ml. At the top is 0.5 ml. So, ang importante lang yun, class, is ma-reach na to ang 0.25. Okay? So, pag maabot na to ang 0.25, we already achieved the additive and the blood ratio. So, na-achieve na to, it means it is already acceptable for testing. And then we have our microhematocrit tubes, other term capillary tubes. So we use that one class for manual hematocrit purposes. The volume is 50 to 75 microliters. So we have two colors, the red and the blue. The red contains heparin additive. The blue is non-additive capillary tube. So we are going to insert the flow of blood on the end with the colored band. Okay, so dito na ang entry sa blood and we're going to fill the capillary tube up to 3/4 na level. And we must make sure that there is no bubbles in between our blood. Okay, next microscope slides for our malaria testing or malarial smear. And warming device to increase the blood flow on the cold na area. So temperature less than 42 degrees Celsius within 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, as to the composition naman class, so we have here our capillary blood. It is a mixture of arterial blood plus venous blood and our capillary blood. But predominantly class, mas daghan ang arterial blood. Okay, other than that, it contains as well our interstitial fluid and intracellular fluid. So to differentiate these two, interstitial fluid class, this is the fluid in the tissue spaces between our cells. While our intracellular fluids naman, this is the fluid within our cell. Okay, so kindly take note on that. As to the laboratory result naman class, our capillary blood higher ang iyang glucose and hemoglobin and hematocrit for our newborn, specifically 1 day old na newborn na mga babies. So it is 12% higher. That is why very important to inform the medtech on processing if unsa ang source sa imong blood for them to adjust the normal value. Lower naman ang capillary blood result for total protein, bilirubin, and electrolytes compared with our venous blood. Okay, a site selection. So for our finger puncture, it's our ring and our great finger on the fleshy na part on the palmar surface of the distal phalanx sa atoang third or fourth finger or our ring and great finger. So we need to avoid our on the thumb, on the index finger, and on the pinky since daghan siya og kalyo. So the tendency is our lancet will just bounce. Okay? So again, on the fleshy side and not on the center. Okay, the same way, mag-bounce gihapon ang ato ang lancet. As to heel puncture, so we are going to puncture on the plantar surface, medial or lateral side. Okay, so kung sa ang side sa toe, and big toe and the little toe. So dito ta mag puncture. We are not allowed to puncture at the bottom kung asa ang arc. It's because it is near sa bone. There's a great tendency or possibility na maapil o break ang bone. Okay? We are going to break on the arc. And on the earlobe, this is only class for extremely extreme cases. Okay, so example ng mga severely burned patient, only ang kanang part of the ear is wala na burn na area, so we can puncture that one. And then we have a picture here. We need to cut across. Okay, the reason for this because it delivers the best possible blood flow and it facilitates the formation of drop of blood. It's because class, if you're going to follow the fingerprint pattern, there is a tendency that it will follow or the flow of blood will follow the pattern of your fingerprint. That is why it will be very messy. Okay, the flow of blood will kanang naa siya sa imong palm mo na siyang it's very messy. Okay, so here is a summary on the recommended and not recommended sites for dermal puncture. So recommended areas: heel, medial and lateral plantar surfaces. On the finger puncture naman, it's the central fleshy area of the third and fourth fingers, and we should cut across the fingerprint lines. The areas that are not recommended naman class are the back of the heel, the bottom of the foot, and the arc of the foot. The calloused fingers, which is our thumb, the index finger, and the pinky, is not recommended. And if we will follow the fingerprint pattern, so that is not recommended as well. And if the area is na siya mga previous damages, so we cannot use that one for another round of capillary puncture. So another one, unsa ba kalalumon ato ang pagpuncture. Okay, so premature sa heel ang ato ang puncture site and the deafness is 0.85 millimeters. Full term, heel gihapon na neonate less than 2 millimeters. And sa mga bata that are 6 months to 8 years old, is the puncture site is already on the finger. So the deafness is 1.5 millimeters. And for children over 8 years old and adults, of course, finger puncture na siya, and the deafness is 2.4 millimeters. As to the order of draw class, it is different between or with our evacuated tube. So the first one is gas tubes. Usually we are not the ones who are collecting this. It's our respiratory therapist. Next is the glass slides, followed by our EDTA. Example of the color, our lavender and pink, followed by other tube or other microcollect tubes with additives. Example, our green and the gray. And lastly is our serum tubes or our tubes without additives. Example is our red or gold. Okay, so now class, let's proceed with the procedure. So the same way with venipuncture, we will still follow the katong mga pre-collection steps. So proper identification of the patient and we still need to ask the patient about latex allergies, it's because musuot man ta og gloves during the puncture. And then choose a finger that is not cold or edematous for the puncture site, and we are going to clean the site. The ideal antiseptic is, of course, is our 70% isopropyl alcohol. Allow it to air dry to avoid hemolysis. And we are not allowed to use povidone iodine um, in cleaning the site. This is not only applicable for capillary puncture but also sa venipuncture na to class. Except if ang request ni patient is blood culture. Okay, why? Dili man ta pwede mo gamit og povidone iodine. It's because class, even after the betadine has been allowed to dry, it can cause elevated potassium, phosphorus, and uric acid. So, affected na siyang analytes. After that, we're going to prepare the equipment needed. Then it's important to massage the lower portion of the finger in order for us to stimulate the blood flow. And then after is we're going to puncture the skin while pressing the area below the puncture site. So do not forget to dispose your puncture device in a proper disposal. And after that, we need to wipe away the first drop of blood with a sterile dry gauze. So the reason for that is for us to eliminate the interstitial and intracellular fluid during the process. And then we will be collecting the sample. It must be facing downwards in order for us to allow the proper collection. And after that is hold the gauze or have the patient hold the gauze to puncture site until bleeding has stopped. So things to remember, class, during the collection of the sample. So I'll just reiterate those items that were not explained. So as a drop of blood forms, touch the tip of the microcollection device to the drop of blood. So just murag i-guide lang yun mo ang drop of blood class and not totally scrape it. Because scraping the skin, it can lead to hemolysis. So diba, we already discussed that one before. If the sample is hemolyzed, automatic reject, repeat collection. So there must be a rest in between. So squeeze, rest, squeeze, collect, then rest. Dili siya squeeze lang na squeeze, okay? Because continuous or vigorous na squeezing on the puncture site, mas faster magsirado ang puncture. So the more you squeeze, the faster the blood flow will stop. Okay? So it should be na siya rest in between. So, kana siya na, do not scrape the blood from the surface of the skin, and do not forget as well to follow the proper inversion. Okay, so just like our evacuated tube for our lavender tap, it's 8 to 10 ang number of inversions for our lavender na microcollect tubes. So just like in the picture, the puncture site must be facing downwards in order for us to facilitate proper blood collection. Okay, so continuation on the procedure, follow the proper inversion, and apply bandage on the puncture site, and do not forget to label the collection containers. Okay, so now let's proceed, class, with heel puncture for our babies. So the following is the area of choice. That's the anatomical location. So plantar surface medial to align joint posteriorly from the middle of the great toe to the heel. So it's our kanang big toe na area. So that is that portion. Other one is lateral to align joint posteriorly from between the fourth and the fifth toes on the heel. So kanang line sa to ang pinky. So kana siya explanation. So sides to be avoided, medial or big toe side, lateral or little toe side, and central arc area of the foot. It's because puncturing this may result to damage in the nerves and the tendons, cartilage, bones of our neonates. So depth of puncture, we already mentioned this one earlier. For premature patient, it's 0.85 millimeter. Full term, it's 2 millimeters ang deafness. So, finger puncture is not recommended for our newborn babies. It's because the distance to the bones and the main nerves of the infant's finger is 1.2 to 2.2 millimeters. So, this is just very near. Ang tendency is mahit gid nato bones and the nerves if you're going to puncture on the finger of our neonates. Precautions sa capillary puncture. Excessive crying of the baby or of our pediatric patient, it can elevate the leukocyte count or WBC count of the patient. So the WBC count does not return to normal for up to 60 minutes. So if excessive ang crying ni baby, we need to give more than 1 hour na ma-relax si baby before we can proceed with the blood extraction. So, next is hemolysis. That is the greatest concern sa capillary puncture. So, of course, pag hemolyze, it will be rejected. Newborn with elevated bilirubin. So, usually the yellow or the dark yellow color of the serum, it will mask the hemolysis. So, we cannot confirm if the sample is hemolyzed or not. The one thing that we can only confirm is that it's icteric. Okay, so concentration of chemical constituents. So I already mentioned this one on the components. That is why very important to put on the remarks if asa gikuha ang sample in order for the medtech on processing to change the normal value. Then collecting sequential sample. Okay, the causes of hemolysis. Okay, so just like in this video clip, so too much squeezing. Squeezing too vigorously, so it can result to hemolysis. Again, the more you squeeze, um, the more na faster mag-close ang puncture site. And of course, if the alcohol is not totally dried, it can lead to hemolysis as well. And newborns class there, red cell is very fragile and they have high RBC volume. That is why it is prone to hemolysis. And if we scraped off, okay, instead of allowing it to flow into the container, so it can lead to hemolysis. Okay, so that's it for the discussion on, both the topics. So thank you, everyone.